Chiefs are altering their identity. And the basis behind that, man, I mean, they're on pace for the most rushing attempts in the Mahomes era. And let me elaborate on that a little bit. I mean, first of all, they talked a lot about it on the broadcast. Andy Reid, I mean, it's no question now, especially with Belichick's troubles, that Andy Reid is the best coach in football, hands down. And he's probably the best coach in football for the past 10 years, if you want to take out Belichick out of the equation, which is not fair because he's had Super Bowl rings during that time. But anyway, Andy Reid is the best coach in the NFL, and he's the king of making adjustments. And I've fallen victim in the past of saying that the Chiefs are not the Chiefs because they don't look the same. Like when they lost Tyreek Hill, and you can attest to this, like I was hammering on the table every week that like there's something wrong with this Chiefs team. They can't do anything without Tyreek Hill. This doesn't look like the Chiefs. This doesn't look like Patrick Mahomes. And they proved me completely wrong. And I'm not going to make that mistake again. And I think a lot of people are sleeping on the Chiefs right now because they don't look like the normal Chiefs. But they're doing what Andy Reid has always done. They're altering their identity. They're changing the script, and it really comes down to the run game. So far this year, they rank 13th in rush attempts among all the teams in National Football League. So that puts them on pace for a first top 15 ranking in rush attempts since 2016. That is 7 years since they were top 15 in rush attempts. Right now, they're 13th. They could finish as a top 10 team in rush attempts, which is even crazier to think about. And a fun little debate that we had before the podcast. Guess who the last Chiefs running back was to finish top 15 in rush attempts? Spencer Ware, who was a fun little waiver wire pickup in 2016 on that 2016 Chiefs team. There was Jeremy Maclin. So that'll put things into perspective as to how long ago it was since Andy Reid ran a Chiefs team like that. And I think that we could start talking about maybe this is the best running back that I wouldn't put Pacheco into the same conversation as a Shady McCoy, but maybe Isaiah Pacheco is the best running back that he's had since LaShawn McCoy. I think that there is certainly a Kareem Hunt argument. In his rookie season, he went for 272 carries, over 1,000 yards, and almost 10 tuds. Pacheco's looking to do much of the same as he's on pace for 247 carries, over 1,000 yards, and 9 touchdowns. So this the Chiefs team has altered their identity to make it almost a run-first team that relies on the run game because of the lack of receivers that they have. So I love what this Chiefs team is doing right now. I love Andy Reid that he's doing this. And I like that we have a new brand of football in Kansas City.
Yeah.
But what do you think, man? What do you think from all that?
Before we get flamed in the comments, did we ever get a verdict on if Andy Reid coached Jamal Charles? Because
That's a good question. Let me look
okay,
into that.
but
So you elaborate on
yeah,
my point, and
to
I will go ahead and look at
to
that.
further elaborate on that, man, like I also think that something that needs to be taken into account and why it feels a little different is this defense is also playing at a really high level, and that is also part of altering their identity. This is a team that over the last probably 6 or 7 years has been a team that needs to try and, boat race their opponents, get to 30 points to win these games because their defense can't really hold them. I mean, we remember in those 2020, 2021 seasons where the Chiefs defense was getting lit up on a week-to-week basis. Now, this is probably the best defense that Patrick Mahomes has had since he's been in Kansas City. So that is also part of it. Allows them to control games. I mean, we were looking at that Broncos game on Thursday night, and we're like, oh, well, the Chiefs should put up 50, but they can just play good defense and control these games. They don't have to unload the clip with the playbook and show everybody all these plays that Andy Reid has in the chamber against the Broncos on Thursday Night Football when all these teams are going to be watching. Like, that's very important, is to kind of keep those plays close to the vest for when you're playing the Bills, when you're playing the Dolphins in 2 weeks. Like, that matters. And the fact that they're able to effectively run the ball is just something that they haven't had in quite a few years here.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. To avoid the flaming in the comments, he did have Jamal Charles for 2 years in Kansas City, his first 2 years as head coach. So if you want to count that, go ahead. It's kind of hard to make an impact in your first 2 years as a head coach in this league. But he did have Jamal Charles. He was on the back end of his career, 27, 28. So it wasn't prime Jamal Charles. So Pacheco could still be the best running back since a prime LaShawn McCoy. So
Like, yeah, and I've always like had this weird like affinity for him because he runs like he's trying to like murder the turf. And it
angry
just,
at the
yeah,
ground, as
like
Andy Reid
that,
says.
yeah, like that. I don't remember the last time I saw that running style because a lot of guys with dreads, Jamal Charles included. Granted, Jamal Charles is actually a speed freak, but guys with
Yeah.
dreads tend to be. People tend to think that they're a
And
little bit
Jamal
faster
Charles
because
in his
they're, you know,
prime is
flying all
much
over the
better
place.
than
Yes,
Pacheco.
yes,
Let me get that off, because I don't want to get flamed. I'm
and
probably already going to get flamed.
yeah,
But
and Kareem Hunt at his like the peak of Kareem Hunt, probably better, but Isaiah Pacheco, the best running back the Chiefs have had since Jamal Charles that didn't kick somebody. So that's probably the take that we're going to roll with. But yeah, they're running the ball much more effectively. They're, I believe, 13th in EPA per play as running, and then they're 12th in yards per game running. So this is not something that they've had, and this takes a lot of pressure off of Patrick Mahomes. I think, like you said a little bit, it is due to the lack of receiving weapons that they have here. I don't think he trusts really anybody quite yet that's not Travis Kelce to throw the ball to. However, they need to get that going because I don't know if you're going to be able to rely on the run all the time when you're playing teams like Cleveland, teams like, I mean, hell, we saw it on Sunday Night Football the other couple weeks ago. Couldn't really establish the run against the Jets outside of a few big runs. Um, when you're playing these really good teams, you're going to have to score points, especially in an AFC with the Dolphins, with the Bills, with the Bengals when they get healthy. You can't do the clock control stuff all the time. So maybe this is covering up for the passing offense a little bit, but it's definitely a good thing to establish this early in the season.
absolutely, can't agree more. Last thing I'll mention is that while these tackles have been the highlight of a lot of hilarious clips that we've seen on Twitter, the Chiefs tackles have been terrible so far this year. This interior line, led by Creed Humphrey, is great, and Pacheco can definitely run behind that line.